Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be telling you the birth story of my youngest son Moses, who I just had not even 2 months ago while I'm filming this. Yeah, if you want to hear the story of how I had my first son, then I will link that video below. Okay, so the second time that I was pregnant, I was also very miserable, same as the first time. I also went to the hospital with some preterm labor. It wasn't as serious as with my first son, but it was still challenging, and I truly believe that I suffered from prenatal depression, or I don't know if that's the right word. Yeah, I don't know. Pregnancy. Depression during pregnancy. Pretty sure it's called prenatal. I clearly don't know, but it was really, really hard. I was just really suffering emotionally, mentally, physically. Every day I was not sleeping because of how bad I felt physically, and that was affecting obviously my mental health and stuff. And this time I made a decision not to try and induce labor, but the problem was that I kept thinking I was in labor and things would get intense and then they would just die down. And this went on for weeks. And I mean, I would be like, I think this is it this time. I think this is it. I just really wanted it to be. But I also physically was like, I'm in a lot of pain. So it'd be really great if this could just speed along. When I was 39 weeks pregnant, I started going in to the doctor every day and having her strip my membranes, which is just a natural way that's safe to induce labor when you're far enough along. And so I went in every day, and it was really miserable because it would feel like labor's gonna start again and then it wouldn't, and I was still not sleeping. But one morning I went in when I was 39 weeks and a few days, and she swept my membranes, and I knew it had worked that time because it was hard to get through a conversation. And so I remember that day we had dropped our son off and we were just trying to kill the time until we had to go to the hospital. And so we ended up going to Chipotle and eating a big burrito, which probably wasn't a great idea, but it sounded good. And I went shopping at Hobby Lobby. It was really interesting, like laboring out in public with a mask on. I just try not to like draw attention to myself, so I'd be like suffering silently. Just making weird faces at people and trying to hide it. But we ended up going in around like 11:30 in the morning, and it was just strange because last time when I was having a baby, I didn't really get to experience the like waiting part as much. And then because of COVID, they only allow one person in, which in some ways it was nice to just know that that was just the way it was going to be, and to prepare for that mentally, emotionally. That helped a lot. Just I knew, and I had to accept that fact. So there wasn't another option. And all right, I'm just gonna have him here with us. You can see the top of his hair. So the staff was really nice at the hospital, and but it was just strange, just knowing like no one could come visit or anything. So when I got to the hospital, I was at a 5, and after a few hours of being there, I could just tell nothing had happened. I could just tell because the first time everything had moved along so quickly, but this time I was bored. It's like, when is this gonna happen? Of course, my labor is unending, just like this whole pregnancy has been. And so they ended up saying that if I wanted, they could break my water. And so I decided to have them break my water. And 10 minutes later, I knew I was in transition. I remembered how intense it was the first time. And so that was kind of nice because I just was expecting it to be over soon because I knew. It gave me kind of, I don't know, just the encouragement, like, oh, you're so close, you're gonna have this baby anytime. And I was really happy because I got to labor in a tub, and it was really nice. And what I loved about this experience, we went to a different hospital than with my first, and they were just so empowering to me. They cared so much about what I wanted, and they were just really comforting and kind. I had a midwife and a nurse with me, and it was just so much better than I could have ever imagined, honestly. They were so wonderful to me, and they gave me direction, they gave me encouragement, and Caleb really got to have a bigger role this time, which was really awesome. Like, they would just tell him things he could do for me, and I really loved that. When it came time to push, I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but they ended up pulling out like a birthing stool. And I don't know if you've ever heard the fear that women have that they will poop while pushing. I had heard of it, but I honestly wasn't really worried about it, or I didn't really care. And it was so funny, honestly. It was so funny because I was on this birthing stool, just like super low to the ground, and I realized that I've pooped. And I was like, instead of being embarrassed, I was so mad. I was so angry because I had to sit there and smell it, and I was like, this is the worst thing that could ever happen. And they're so sweet. Like, a couple minutes later, it vanished, and I was like, okay, everything's great again. Just have this baby. And then all of a sudden I'm like, what's that smell? Oh my gosh, I pooped again. And I was furious at this point. I was like, I have to get away from here. And they ended up a couple minutes later having me go up onto the bed, and I was on all fours. And no joke, I'm like, I look down and I've pooped again. And at this point, I'm just like laughing because it's ridiculous. And I really thought it was so funny. I was so mad, and it was so funny. That was like one of the moments of labor that I could kind of just see the funny side of things and not be so caught up in it. And it's funny because by this point, I had never even thought about getting an epidural. And I feel like that sounds strange because I definitely thought about it the first time. But I think because I knew what was coming and how I was at the worst part, there was no point in getting something to help because I knew I was about to push the baby out. And so when I was pushing, it occurred to me, or maybe even after the fact, that I hadn't even thought about asking for an epidural. I hadn't even thought about one at all, because that was actually one of my fears, was that the first time I didn't have the option. This time I would have the option, and what if I would choose it? Not that it would be wrong, but I wanted to feel like I was empowered by whatever I chose to do. And I actually had told the nurses when I went in this time, hey, I'm open either way to getting an epidural because I just don't know what it's going to be like. But it was just really cool because I had wanted to have a natural birth again. And that's what ended up happening. The first time I had an episiotomy, and so I just thought that I would tear no matter what. And when it came time to push this time, it was not as fun as the first time. The first time I found it strangely relieving and wonderful. This time, not so much. And I was just hoping to get it over with as quickly as possible, which I had also been told that it would happen quicker the second time. But it did not happen any quicker for me the second time. And what was really great, though, was the midwife was really helping me not to tear. And I didn't realize that. But I was so, so grateful because the healing was so much better. But anyways, once I did actually push him out, the moment was just so beautiful because I remember just right before thinking to myself, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. Like, this is actually the hardest thing I've ever done, pushing this baby out. And I just want this whole thing to be, I was so over the whole pregnancy. I had just been so discouraged. And when I gave birth to him and they handed him right into my arms, it was truly the most rewarding thing. I never could have imagined it being such an incredible moment of just truly a wave rushing over me of this was all worth it. Like, I instantly connected with him. I instantly knew it had all been worth it. And they like let me hold him for, a whole hour at least. It was just incredible holding him in my arms and truly being like, I never have to do this again, and I have my son, and it was all worth it. It was a really incredible experience. So birth is just so amazing. I feel like no matter how many times you do it, it's so different and so amazing and crazy and wonderful. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next video.